teacher to stand and leave it. Do not talk unless given permission by the teacher to do so after having raised your hand to seek that recognition. And do not challenge the word of the teacher or complain. So deeply ingrained are these rules of conduct that even as we age and mature, they generalize across many settings as permanent placards of our respect for authority. However, not all authority is just, fair, moral, and legal, and we are never given any explicit training in recognizing that critical difference between just and unjust authority. The just one deserves respect and some obedience, maybe even without much questioning, while the unjust variety should arouse suspicion and distress, ultimately triggering acts of challenge, defiance, and revolution. Stanley Milgram's series of experiments on obedience to authority, so clearly and fully presented in this new edition of his work, represents some of the most significant investigations in all the social sciences of the central dynamics of this aspect of human nature. His work was the first to bring into the controlled setting of an experimental laboratory an investigation into the nature of obedience to authority. In a sense, he is following in the tradition of Kurt Lewin, although he is not generally considered to be in the Lewinian tradition, as Leon Festinger, Stanley Schachter, Lee Ross, and Richard Nisbet are, for example. Yet, to study phenomena that have significance in their real-world existence within the constraints and controls of a laboratory setting is at the essence of Lewin's dictums of the way social psychology should proceed. This exploration of obedience was initially motivated by Milgram's reflections on the ease with which the German people obeyed Nazi authority and discriminating against Jews and, eventually, in allowing Hitler's final solution to be enacted during the Holocaust. As a young Jewish man, he wondered if the Holocaust could be recreated in his own country, despite the many differences in those cultures and historical epochs. Though many said it could never happen in the United States, Milgram doubted whether we should be so sure. Believing in the goodness of people does not diminish the fact that ordinary, even once good people, just following orders, have committed much evil in the world. British author C.P. Snow reminds us that more crimes against humanity have been committed in the name of obedience than disobedience. Milgram's mentor, Solomon Asch, had earlier demonstrated the power of groups to sway the judgments of intelligent college students regarding false conceptions of visual reality. But that influence was indirect, creating a discrepancy between the group norm and the individual's perception of the same stimulus event. Conformity to the group's false norm was the resolution to that discrepancy, with participants behaving in ways that would lead to group acceptance rather than rejection. Milgram wanted to discover the direct and immediate impact of one powerful individual's commands to another person to behave in ways that challenged his or her conscience and morality. He designed his research paradigm to pit our general beliefs about what people would do in such a situation against what they actually did when immersed in that crucible of human nature. Unfortunately, many psychologists, students, and laypeople who believe that they know the Milgram shock study know only one version of it, most likely from seeing his influential movie, Obedience, or reading a textbook summary. He has been challenged for using only male participants, which was true initially, but later he replicated his findings with females. He has been challenged for relying only on Yale students because the first studies were conducted at Yale University. However, the Milgram obedience research covers 19 separate experimental versions involving about 1,000 participants, ages 20 to 50, of whom none are college or high school students. His research has been heavily criticized for being unethical by creating a situation that generated much distress for the person playing the role of the teacher, believing his shocks were causing suffering to the person in the role of the learner. I believe that it was